Welcome back to 15 with Fosca, the podcast, and to this very special episode coming to you live from the 2025 Florence, Italy Extraordinary Speakers Conference. I was so lucky to hear so many incredible talks, and I'm truly fortunate to have been able to interview MJ Maher, psychotherapist, author, and award-winning speaker, about the very personal story that led her to do tireless work helping schools, social service, police, and youth groups achieve a better understanding of dynamics around complex youth and knife crimes and incidents. Thank you, MJ. You and the work you do are an inspiration to us all, and it is my pleasure to introduce you, MJ, and her work, Rising in Action, Serving Our Youth with S.E.R.V.E.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, MJ. It's such a pleasure to be sitting here with you in the middle of the Extraordinary Speakers 2025 Florence Conference. Welcome to Florence, and tell me, I just heard your speech, and so literally 5 minutes ago, so it's very fresh in my mind, but for those who didn't hear it, could you share with us a little about what your talk was about today and what the ultimate goal of the work you do is?
My talk is on knife crime, and I have written a program called Save Our Youth, Creating an Anti-Knife Crime, an anti-knife culture formula. So it is a training for professionals who work with the victims and perpetrators of knife crime. So I'm talking about people like the therapists, teachers, social workers, youth workers, prison officers. So it's all those people who work with the young children who are likely to get involved in knife crime. Mm-hmm. And I think in UK, the age is getting younger and younger. So you can find children about 12 years of age involved in knife crime.
I'm just curious because I don't know the UK as well as, for example, I know the United States, but is it like gangs mostly, or is it just the accessibility of knives? Why, I mean...
So some are gangs, but my grandson, he was 15 years of age, and he wasn't in any gang. And when he went thinking that he was going to meet a friend, because he had just moved with me in the area, so he was new in the area. So he hadn't formed a proper good friends. So this guy was one of the people he thought could be his friend. So he invited him to meet with him. But when he got there, this boy had two other boys with them. And they had knives, and they were already set up to attack him.
To ambush him.
Yes.
But first of all, I'm sorry. It's a terrible story. I mean, I just heard it. It's an incredibly powerful story. The fact that, it inspired this incredible project that you're doing, this work that you're doing, makes it even more, at least for me, it makes it even more sort of powerful as a story. Why did they? I mean, what was the reason? Was it a crime? I mean, was it like provoked by theft? Did they want to steal something from him? Was it a power thing? Was it just and what was the point?
I don't know. It's very difficult to know, because in the end, we didn't even have any conversation with them.
Yeah. Even
through the police, we just didn't have any conversation.
Wow.
But sometimes, I don't know whether it's a bet or because one of them was taking a video of the attack.
Yeah, you said that.
Yes. So I don't know whether it is to then show other people, because I know there was another video which was taken some time before, and it went on social media, and we didn't know that had happened until my granddaughter said, "Have you seen this? It's circulating on social media." So there's something about it which is making a UK, maybe particularly London, it has got a higher rate of knife crime.
Yeah, the statistics that were in your presentation were high. The numbers were very high, and no, the reason why I had asked, and it's interesting that. You mentioned that your granddaughter saw this video on social media, because then I wonder, so what is the purpose, right? I mean, you hurt somebody else intentionally for what? For the spectacle of it? online. Is that what we've come to, MJ?
That's how it seems. And I think also the fact that perpetrators sometimes don't get punished for it. So it's almost like saying we can get away with it. So that means that next time they are going to do something worse. Now, in the TV, there was a TV program by, I think it was BBC, where they were looking at knife crime. And what they say in that program is that 30% of offenders re-offend within the year. And I think the reason for that is because there's nothing which happens, you know. I'm not saying that they need to be punished, but what I'm saying is that something needs to be acknowledged. And I can give you an example of salt.
Please do. That's what I was about to ask. You read my mind, because I was going to say, give me some concrete examples.
So, you know, when you are cooking, you only need a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
So that your dish really tastes nice.
Right.
But if you use a tablespoon, then you ruin the dish and nobody wants to eat it.
Exactly.
And I think it's the same thing with the way you treat perpetrators. It should be a pinch of salt, because a pinch of salt will allow them to be remorseful, to reflect on what they have done. But if you put too much salt, the problem is that in the victim, when somebody does something, in the perpetrator, when they do something, it's easy to then trigger their victim, which is where you find that somebody does something, but they are the ones who are asking to be felt sorry for.
Yeah.
But what will never happen is that the victim in them has been triggered, and they are given the attention which is not helpful to them. Mm-hmm. So when there's too much salt, they will redo it again. Very little salt, then they think, okay, I can get away with it. So they will redo it again. Mm-hmm. So you need to be somewhere in the middle, where you give them psychological support to try and understand what happened and look into their past to see what is happening. Because you can't say to a child, you know, you need to behave in this way and respect other people, when all their lives nobody respected them.
Yeah.
So they will be thinking, my own father, who is supposed to love me, never respected me. Why should I respect someone else I don't even know? Yeah. So the wounds of the past need to be acknowledged and settled, so that they can then begin to think that, okay, what happened to me wasn't right. Yeah. It shouldn't have happened. Yeah. But if you don't do that and you just punish them for what they've done, then they become victims and say, why am I being punished? Nobody punished my father. Yeah. So I think that's where things begin to go wrong.
Right. And the work you're doing, which I'm going to ask you to talk about, is trying to fill that gap, right? Yes. And so you're trying, and out of this terrible personal story, which thankfully has a good ending, because you know it was really hard to listen to. You've built something.
Yeah.
You've built something that is a paradigm for young at-risk people. And really your goal is to eliminate this culture, this knife culture. You want to help these kids. You want to maybe give them that, you know, the pinch of salt in a very loving and very complete way. So could you speak a little more to the program? I'm very impressed by it, and I want to hear where it's, you know, how you're implementing it, how it's going.
So the program is almost like the program found me rather than I found the program.
It often is the case, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because I really didn't want to do it. But because my friend was saying, look at how your grandson is. Because my grandson, I'm so proud of him. You can't even tell that he went through that trauma.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And he's so good. I'm really, really proud of him.
You should be.
And so my friend was saying, look, most people, once they have been stabbed, they will go and stab someone else. So the fact that your grandson didn't go down that route, maybe you need to write a program and go through what you went through with him and turn it into a program which other people can use it. And basically what she was saying was that you have the training, you have the knowledge, and now you have a lived experience. You know exactly what it feels. And sometimes people say to me, why don't you get angry with the perpetrator? But my point is, what's the point of getting angry with the perpetrator? Because you are going to end up giving too much salt, which means that they are going to reoffend. And
right.
that will carry on.
That's right.
And I think the other thing was that before my grandson was stabbed, yes, I used to look at the stats and think, oh, this is horrible.
Yeah.
But because nothing personal had happened to me, and now I'm saying, I need to write about this so that people don't wait until something happens to them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think my grandson was lucky that he had me as his grandmother, because if he didn't have me, he could have easily started using the defense mechanisms he knows. And one of the things which is why sometimes the victims become perpetrators is thinking, well, I'm not safe without a knife.
Of course. I mean,
So
if you're
then it starts-
attacked,
yes.
it's a normal human response, right?
Yeah. So all he needed was someone to say, what happened to you was really evil.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have happened. But you don't need to do that. But you can't just shut him up. You have to allow him to vomit all the anger.
Yeah.
This would have brought it in. Because with my grandson, I did allow him a lot of the time. And generally, he's a very polite boy. And I was saying, no. We are not going to be doing politeness here. We have to deal with this. Otherwise, they swallow it. And then it will come out again somehow. Mm-hmm. Because I always say that anger is a very strong emotion. You can't just swallow it.
No,
You need to vomit it.
Yeah.
You need to vomit it.
Yeah.
So, it was tough, but we did it. We did it. And it came to a point where they were saying, okay, we will send him to a counselor. And I'm saying, no, you can't send him to a counselor. Because I train counselors, so I know the syllabus of a counselor. Mm-hmm. It doesn't involve trauma. So to then send him there, it would have been a waste of time.
Yeah,
because they don't have that training. So he needed a psychologist to actually get into what was impacted. And remember that what happens to you today will always connect with your past.
Yeah.
So if your past was traumatized and you have forgotten about it, that makes no difference. If it happens now, you will regress. You will go back to the first incident.
Absolutely. So
you need to make that connection and heal the past first before you can deal with the present. Mm-hmm. And that is where my program is.
Okay. Can you explain it for those who might be out there listening? And just because you explained it so beautifully just now in the talk that you gave, just the steps, their trademarks, if you will. You have sort of very carefully outlined these steps. And
yes.
If you could share them with us, I think that would be really helpful.
There are 5 modules mm-hmm. which spell the word S.E.R.V.E.
Yes.
That is S.E.R.V.E. So in each module, you have 5 further steps. But each module focuses on a specific thing. So the first module is on sensitivity. Mm-hmm. So it will look at where are the barriers in sensitivity, which makes it difficult for people to be sensitive, even to a victim, mm-hmm. and even to a perpetrator, because you still need to be sensitive to that and try to understand why that happened. So sensitivity looks at that. It looks also at personal and social prejudices. And my program allows you to get in touch with your prejudices, because I think sometimes people find it difficult to connect with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we all have our prejudices, and you need to know which ones are yours, because they will block your hearing. Mm-hmm. So that is what the first module is about.
Okay.
And then the second module, which is E, looks at emotions.
Yeah.
So we look at the different emotions the young people have, because if in that group you don't want to show your vulnerability, so sometimes you'll find someone reacting to you and saying, yes, bring it on, but while they're fluffing themselves up, maybe what is underneath is the fear. Because if they show their vulnerability, that means that they are exposed. So in that program, what I also do is teach people about the twins. And when I mean the twins, I'm talking about the emotions, that there's always a pair of emotions. So I say they're almost like identical twins.
Yeah.
And you can't identify who is who. So sometimes a child who is sitting in front of you might be laughing and joking, but in your mind you are thinking, but you've just been stabbed. So why would you be laughing and joking? So you know that he's presenting the other twin. So you have to look at where is the silent twin and pick on the silent twin. Don't always go on what is being presented to you, because what is presented to you sometimes is just a mask.
Often.
You need to know what is behind the mask. And that is what happens in the emotions. And also emotions, it's looking at what gets triggered in people. Like I was saying, that is sometimes counter-transference.
Yeah.
And counter-transference is that you might react in a certain way to someone, but those are not your feelings.
Yeah.
They are actually the feelings you are picking from that person.
Yeah.
So for example, people who can't express how they feel, when they feel angry or scared, their behavior will make you feel, you actually can tell the difference because you get an overwhelm feeling of anger and fear. But the problem is that if you don't understand about counter-transference, you will think that they are your own feelings, and then you will act on that.
Wow.
And most of the time, you will act in a punishing way. And that is not what this person is telling you.
Yeah.
This person is telling you that I'm afraid and I'm scared. You punch them for that because they make you feel that. But when you understand counter-transference, actually I like counter-transference. When I'm talking to somebody, I keep listening to what the body is responding to.
Yeah.
Because the body will respond to what is not being spoken about. And you need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. I think sometimes I joke about it because sometimes my clients say to me, MJ, are you a witch? They say, what do you mean? They say, how did you know? How did you know that this is how I feel? But it's not that I'm a magician or a witch.
No.
But it's because I listen to my body when I'm listening to someone.
Yeah.
And I can tell that this is counter-transference because it becomes overwhelming. If it's your own feeling, you can control it.
Right.
But once it's loaded, it becomes overwhelming. So that is on the E.
Yeah.
Then
Now we're at R.
R is responsibility.
It's an important one for young people.
Yes, because sometimes people think they don't listen. But it's because you're looking at the superficial
Yeah.
and what they're saying to you. But if you listen to your body again, you hear what they're saying.
What they're really saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, if a child comes from an abusive family, does something which is minor to him, it's a minor thing than to what happened to me, and then you come onto them, then they'll be sitting there, they become victims.
Yeah.
And then they'll be saying, but I didn't do much.
Exactly.
So what are you on about?
Yeah.
So instead of reflecting on what the little bit they've done, it means that they have to up their game.
Yeah.
The next thing is going to be even worse.
Yeah.
So responsibilities is
Responsibility is a
looking
big one.
It's that. And in that module, I also look at 3 important psychoanalysts. You have Bjorn, who always thinks about you have to read what is happening.
Yeah.
And don't look at the superficial, but you have to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And then you have John Bowlby, who found the attachment theory. And John Bowlby's thing, he puts emphasis on the relationship between you and your client.
Yeah.
And what are the qualities you need to have? Because he talks about consistent, and he talks about being present. So whether the person is acting out or whatever, you need to be the same. You need to be consistent. You need to be there. And then, so it's really, because John Bowlby's theory is based on the ducks, darklings.
Yeah, of course.
following their mother.
Their
that
mom,
they are
imprinting.
different.
Yeah.
Yes, they are different duckling. You'll have one duckling who is so close to the mother.
Right.
That one, you know that the attachment is not that strong. He's scared to go out and look in the world what is happening.
Yeah.
And then you have another duck which goes wandering. But when there's danger, it comes back running and goes under the feathers.
Yeah.
And that is a safe one.
Yeah.
And then you'll have another one which will go away. And when there's danger, it doesn't matter. I can look after myself.
Yeah.
So you will have those kind of characters. So he's trying to understand which characters is with me. So the one who's saying, I don't care, I'll do it myself. It doesn't mean to say that that is what they want, but that is what they are used to. And you are there to provide a different experience, which is a corrective experience. It has to be different.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the last two letters because we're running out of time.
So
V and E.
V is for Victor. So the common myth is that if you are a victim, you will automatically become a perpetrator, but that is not true. So in this program, we are going to look at the victim, but we are going to address the perpetrators who is triggered in them.
Yeah.
And I gave the example of a stiletto. If somebody steps on you, you're not going to tap them gently and say, can you move your leg? You're just going to push. Yeah. You don't even think about it.
It's an
but
instinct.
In that moment, the perpetrator in you has been triggered. And we do the same with the young adult who has been stabbed. We look at what is happening with the perpetrator in them, because that will automatically get triggered in the same way that you don't think about, what am I going to do this? But with the victim, sometimes because they might feel that they can't take it out on another person, they start taking it out on themselves. So you find that they start self-harming. And if that is not dealt with and acknowledged and the anger is taken out of them, the next step will be suicide, because suicide is still taking out on themselves. So that is really, really important, and you find a lot of it happening following someone being stabbed.
This kind of
yes, because that perpetrator has been triggered, but because people are being nice to them and dealing with the victim side of them, they are just confirming that they are victims. You need to say, okay, that happened to you, but in your position, I think I'll be so angry. What do you do with the anger? And then you need to see where the anger is going. And then the last one is exclusion. So a lot of children who are difficult to deal with, they are pulled out of the mainstream and put into referral units, where if it was a bright child, they just go down. Because they are going to learn the language which is similar to prison language. They are going to be talking about who is the top dog here. So all the focus on their education disappears. And the problem is that if the person was bright, they are going to put all their energy in the negative direction. So exclusion is not always the answer. And then if you think about, again, John Bowlby's talk about attachment, when you pull them out to where they were connected into a different place, that means that they have to form new attachments. And most of the time, they're negative attachments. This is how people went and go and join the gangs.
Exactly.
So that is the problem. And the other thing with the exclusion is that places where youth used to go and play, they are being closed down. So they don't have places where they can exercise, get rid of their negative energy, and channel their positive energy. Only last week I went to Cardiff. I didn't go by choice. I was dragged to Cardiff because Wales was playing with the Ireland. Okay. So my husband is Irish.
Okay.
So he dragged
you to go. Okay.
Yes.
He said we have to go.
As we were going past to the stadium, there was a building. It was beautiful to watch. Young people were in there learning breakdance.
I love
So
that.
they were breakdancing there. I couldn't stop going, but coming back, I said, no, I came all the way to Wales. You can give me 10 minutes to go in there. And I went in and spoke to the people who were running it. And again, it was a place where young people could come and congregate. And, you could see them dancing, going on the floor, taking turns. But unfortunately, it was going to close the following month. It really pained me, and I just thought maybe that's why I came first here.
This is, I mean, we're at the end of our conversation, but I want to say that this is a huge problem, because if young people don't have arenas where they can feel creative, where they can put their energy into something like sports or something positive, unfortunately, these things do happen. And I'm very grateful to you for the work that you are doing. I'm so just impressed that this personal story of yours has launched this incredibly courageous and necessary work that you're doing. So thank you. And just good luck with everything. And let's hope that, somebody realizes that we need to keep these places going.
Yes.
We need to help our kids. We need to make them have a beautiful future,
Yes.
So thank you for that, MJ.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.